Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to SSG Speaks, the podcast that takes you inside the walls of Camelot. Meet the knights that made Sword and Shield Gaming what it is. So pour yourself a flask of your favorite mead and join us for an inside look at the fine folks that sit at the round table.
All right, everybody, welcome to SSG Speaks. This is going to be episode 19, and today our special guest is going to be EnnCoop, which to most of you, or maybe some of the OGs around, is Deadeye. So welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thanks for having me.
We have a special guest host today. We had a big kind of kerfuffle and mix-up, but it worked out very serendipitously because Apollo's in town. Hey. So I made sure that we hung out today, and it just worked out that he's going to be the co-host today. So Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Again.
Happy to be back.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
Hypothetically speaking.
I was looking at the show notes for when we did Apollo's episode, and it was like over a year ago.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of my favorite things for these is it's like a big reunion. Like it's all these people that I unfortunately don't get to talk to or see or hear from much. And it's I don't know. It's very, I enjoy it because it's these people who, like, especially each one of you guys, where I don't play with on a regular basis, where I used to maybe 10 years ago, where it's like...
And it's a good way to, guess, if you
time.
haven't been around, you kind of get back in and talk about it and kind of get you mixed back in. That's going to happen with me, where I was away from Discord. Now kind of got back integrated again. So it's been great.
Yeah.
So since I already brought it up, I wanted to talk about the gamer tag. So can you tell us? I guess I only know about the Deadeye versions and then the EnnCoop versions. So can you tell us about how you came up with those and the history of those?
I, to some extent, have always been Deadeye, which you may remember. Deadeye came from, it was Knights of the Old Republic. There was a guy named Deadeye Duncan, and he was a character you came across during the story. And I kind of always liked the name Deadeye because I also saw it in Command and Conquer. I don't know if you ever played those real-time strategy games.
Mm-hmm.
There was a character in the first-person shooter version that they did. His name was Deadeye. He was a sniper. And I kind of always resonated with that. So I was always, in some form or fashion, looking to snipe in a game. And I don't know if you remember when we did Halo back in the day, we had the different roles where you had your archers, your raiders, and gosh, you're gonna have to forgive me. I don't remember the other roles, but I was always
honor guard.
Yeah.
Honor guard. Yes, that's right. Well, I mean, I've always been dead-eyed in some regard, and when I started streaming, that's really when I went and took a look at my name because I wanted to come up with some sort of branding, like a logo and things like that. And the guy that I was talking with he made it sound kind of like it's hard to market yourself when there's so many people by the same name out there. And Deadeye is a very popular name, and I was competing with like a gaming group and other people with the same kind of name. And I mean, but you didn't have the same name across all the platforms like Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all those things. So I really went back and I thought, like, okay, what can I do that's kind of unique to me? And Coop is like a shortened version of my middle name, which is a nickname that I've always gone by, Cooper, and N being my first initial. So I kind of looked at that and I was like, okay, well, that kind of is unique in its own way. I have that name on every platform because you can, using a tool, find that kind of stuff out. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to go with that. And I mean, I've been doing that for the past year or so that I've had that name change. And it's been good. A lot of people seem to recognize that name who, in the Destiny circles that I play in, they seem to recognize it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it is super important to have, if you're going to be doing, the streaming and want to make a voice and a presence for yourself, to have that uniquely identifiable, just something super easy to say, so easy to write, type, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Back on that point, Mr. Deadeye, which is what I was for a long time, is just a mouthful to say. And I remember sometime back in the day listening to somebody talk, like Halo, not only was it a great game, but it had such a short name that it was like, it was just easy to say. It rolled right off the tongue. And I was thinking that when I came up with my new name. So
yeah, I've always liked to, and I'm sure it's like colloquial just in like the Halo universe, but every time if we're like, hey, we're going to play Halo, like we never had to say, oh, we're going to play ODST Halo 3. We just say Halo, like whatever the current one is, like we're playing Halo. You know, like that's what it is. Like we're playing, same thing with Destiny, right? We're playing Destiny, we're playing Halo, we're playing COD. Like, I like that better than,
simple, easy to say. Too. You can drop the numbers and just say the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes it super nice. So, I was just posting on our Discord today. Are you excited about this new Destiny expansion, or I guess not expansion but season?
This new season. I checked it out briefly because I was sitting here about 1:00, just eating some lunch, and I was like, "Oh yeah, new season came out today." And normally I'm like really excited about it, and it may just be because I play and stream Destiny all the time that I feel like I'm hitting that same thing that other content creators are hitting, where they want to branch out and do other things just because there's like a lull in the season. Like this past season just seemed to drag out, and I don't know if I'm the only person who experienced it, but I ran King's Fall so many times, and even before that, I ran Vow of the Disciple. I did like 60 runs of it, and I had like 20 Sherpas trying to help people get clears and teach people how to do the raids. And it feels like when the seasons are a little bit longer that I just kind of get bored with the game. Now, I always come back to it, and I'm excited to try the stuff in the new season. I think what has me the most excited is it goes back to the Warmind stuff. And I like the weapons based around the Warmind. So I'm going to get some of my favorite guns back, which I'm excited about. Get some armor. I really want the OG Mars armor, and I hope that they bring that back from the Escalation Protocol, but I don't have my hopes up.
Escalation Protocol is probably one of my favorite little, whatever they called that, the
like public events
activity. The public events.
Was that kind of one of the first ones?
That was like one of the OG things you could do on Mars.
Yeah, I think it was, and it was super hard in the beginning too. And there was like 7 rounds or 6 rounds or something. It was, and I remember people tried to like cheese to get their friends in because it was a 9-player activity, but obviously you can only have 3 people on a fire team, and so you were trying to get people like in your instance to like invite your friends in and like do all this stuff to get people in.
Oh yeah, so we definitely did that because Thor lives close enough to me that him and I could get in the same servers, and nice. I would try to make it so that people could join up on me, people could join up on Thor, and we would just happen to be in the same instance, and we could do it that way. At least get like 6 people there. I remember doing that back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite, like you said, the public event things that they did. Some of the more recent ones I haven't like enjoyed as much. This last one, like with the pirate stuff, was kind of cool. But yeah, I dropped off and just kind of had stopped playing, and I don't really know necessarily what the reason was for this season. And
I have a question for someone who plays all the time, lore wise, what is happening? Because I feel like lore was super cool.
The podcast isn't this long, man.
That's true.
Yeah. You got like a 4-hour live video to watch.
I can't take that deep of a dive. I'll do like a high level thing that's going on, but
hit him with the high level.
Starting with the Witch Queen, the whole idea of what happened there is setting up for the Witness, and they're hinting at a lot of stuff, which if you haven't played, I don't want to get too much into what happened so far this season with where I think they're going with it. But Witness is the big bad guy. We've been hearing about the darkness for quite some time. We have a face for it. Now we know that the darkness is on its way. This past season, we unearthed the relics of Nezarec, which was an original, I guess, disciple of the Witness. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the darkness and us trying to unravel what the darkness is, and I think trying to use more of the darkness, which is going to go into what's coming in Lightfall. They're talking about Neptune already with Osiris. So there's just a lot of stuff revolving around the darkness and what that is and what that means to us as a Guardian. So I'm excited to see what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I think for me, like I've always been a big fan of Destiny. I definitely hung past like the Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 where we had a lot of people like Apollo that fell off in Destiny 2. But one of the things I'm actually starting to appreciate in these last couple of years and seasons is they're actually getting to the story, right? They're actually, like, especially with the Witch Queen, like they went into the backstory of how she became who she was, and like they went into a bunch of lore that wasn't in Grimoire cards and other like random places you have to try and read and find, which I really like. So.
Okay. So was I the only person who was super confused that we were watching the cutscene stuff with Savathun, and she was already dead? Like, as soon as when that part hit, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that all happened already, and we're like catching up to all that in the story. I thought that was so cool the way they did that storyline.
Did you watch the Bife like primer for that, like the movie he made?
I did not. I used to be really good about it, and I've just been bad about watching the stuff I used to keep up with.
He made a legit animated movie that basically told the whole story of the origins of the Hive and how Savathun and the siblings became to be who they are, which Destiny eventually told you maybe about like a fourth or a third of as much that Bife had in his thing, because basically he went through all the lore of everything he has, and then he made it into just this amazing, well-told story with art and all this kind of stuff, and it was a fantastic primer for the Witch Queen. I think it was pretty long.
Who was this?
His name is My name is Bife. He's a YouTuber with a just amazing voice, and he just has a very good
he does
presence and
great lore videos.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, like legit. Like when I said his is 4 hours, like he does have like this is the whole complete story of Destiny, and it's like 4 hours long.
Nice. He'll do another one coming up to the release of Lightfall, most likely. You'll see something drop that's like the entire story of Destiny this far, and it'll be like a 2 or 3 hour video.
Yeah. See, Gambit's not here today, so we could like literally just talk about Destiny the whole time. Like it's fine.
So I dropped off like right when the pyramid started happening, like the moon, that whole moon
season of arrivals.
On the moon. I think so. It was like it's been a couple years.
Was it right before they made the planets disappear, like Io and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was definitely, because that hadn't happened yet for me anyway. But it was like right when you discovered the pyramids, and I don't remember what the season was called. But it all seemed super interesting. I was like really interested to do it, but I just didn't have the time to go through all the stuff, and just
that's the problem.
But the lore always seemed super cool.
Destiny is a great game, but it suffers from a lot of like in-depth stuff that makes it hard for people to jump into without watching something like My Name is Bife to bring you up to date on what's going on with the story.
So I know we could just go ahead and talk about Destiny all day, and maybe we'll get back to it.
One
we'll
more
see.
question though.
Okay.
Has the Traveler done anything? Just curious.
It made the ghosts.
He's awoken. Okay. He's awoken now in the story. So I mean, there's that.
So like, there's actually, it's not just like something might happen. Something's actually happening and involved in the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Traveler is awake, and we're gonna see some interesting stuff happen with that too. But I do not know firsthand knowledge.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like when I was saying, like the story, in Destiny 1, which just drove me insane. You would talk to the speaker, and he would say, "Oh, I don't have time to go into the history of," and it's like, please do.
It's the J.J.
Like,
Abrams of Destiny.
Yeah, please go into the history of all this and explain everything to me. Like, all of us geeks and nerds are like clamoring for more, content and stuff like that. And so, like, please, like, no, please, I'll wait.
Yeah,
I'll watch a cutscene. I'll listen to you tell a story. Like, and so now Destiny, they drip all that stuff off, out within like audio logs and books and things like that now in game. But
the lore books that you can collect and you can kind of read for yourself.
Or like you can walk up to like a terminal, right, and hear like voice recordings or hear conversations between multiple people and all that kind of stuff. So
honestly, I think some of the best lore comes with exotic weapons and gear, where when you go and you do some reading about something, that's kind of cool too. And they did that with the gun that is coming with Lightfall, that if you pre-ordered it, you got it already in the game. I can't remember the name of the auto rifle, but it has some cool story to it if you read it.
Well, or the I guess it'd be a spoiler, but for Witch Queen, like the grenade launcher that you get, there's some
very cool stuff.
yeah, they definitely have cool lore. And like something like their grenade launcher, there's like there's missions around it, right? Where you learn the story and you're building the gun and stuff like that. So,
those are always cool. Like that one from King's Fall where you got to collect all the stuff and build that like canvas looking.
The Touch of Malice.
Touch of Malice,
yes. Malice, yeah.
Yep.
And that's back, I believe, right?
It is back. It's a random reward for beating the raid.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Which I've
all right, enough Destiny.
already had 3 drop for me, and I cannot get them to drop for anybody else that I play with. So I'm like,
oh man,
I'm dying to do a catalyst run, but I'm still waiting for some people to get the gun to drop for them.
Someone else to get it. I had that happen when we were raiding, and I got the Eyes of Tomorrow, and everybody's so pissed because I think I got it like on my first or second run, and then nobody else could get it.
Used up all the luck.
Yep, everybody has those stories.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, we I guess we can kind of start back at the top. When did you join SSG? Do you remember? Do you know?
Gosh, I remember looking for a group of people to play with because Halo Reach was getting ready to come out, and I said, "Man, I want to get back into playing with a clan and having that camaraderie that comes with having a group of people to play with all the time, the same game, same interests." And so it was about the time that Halo Reach was coming out that I went looking around back then on the forums to see who was looking for people and where I could go. And I came across Tide the Leader, which I think I remember seeing something about the gunslingers in like one of Bungie's original Vidocs that they did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could go with a group like that, some group of people that really just love Halo, because I was so addicted to Halo back in the day. And checking out their forums, I came across the Sword and Shield gaming forums as well. And so I put my application in and got accepted. And I mean, the rest is history.
Nice. Yeah, I think you nailed it, because looks like Reach came out in September of 2010, and that's right when you made your first post on our forums. So
yep, I knew it was right around then.
Yeah, good thing Gambit's not here, because that's all. Once Halo Reach is mentioned, like that's all he can talk about. So
well, I'm kind of the same way with Destiny.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
So before SSG, were you ever part of a clan at all before? Any other kind of gaming group?
It wasn't like a really organized group. There was back when Halo 2 was out, and I got really into playing it kind of competitively. I found a group of people that I played with a lot, and we were called Game Over. It wasn't like an organized group. That's what we made our clan name for the organized things that we would do, and it was a lot of big team battle and things like that. It was we would just organize and go run around in multiplayer together. Not even like playing against other clans. Just we played against each other. We played with each other all the time, and we knew what our roles were, and we would just go do those things when we would play together.
God, yeah. I miss big team battles so much. Like just being able to roll in with like 8 of your friends or 16 of your friends. Like
get the warthog or the elephant or whatever. And just
like especially back like in the GG and heydays, like we'd roll and like get like 5 Spirits of Fire guys, and we'll get some people from TTL and like whatever, and we could just have matchmaking, like mix this up. Like it was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I just wish there was anything like that today.
I don't understand how it's so spread out as it is. I feel like back then it was like the golden age where everyone was playing almost the same 2 or 3 games. You could find anyone to play with, and now it seems like everyone's just so spread apart now.
Well, does the new Halo Infinite not have anything like that makes it so that people can kind of just do the same thing that we used to do back in the day?
It does have big team battle. I don't know how. I think it might only be 12 now. Okay. But I don't think you can go in with a party greater than 6. And I have not played Infinite multiplayer in a long time, so I'm not. And of course, it could have been updated since then. But there's some kind of stipulation like that. Like you can't go in with more than just who could be on your team, like we used to be able to.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's good, right? You don't want to go in like in old big team battle. You don't want to go in with 9, right? Because then one person's gonna get screwed no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it was nice.
I seem to remember that happening to me a couple times.
Well, or you might go in with a full team, but then you get a random on your team and they kick somebody off. Like, and then somebody gets, but to Bungie's credit, like I feel like they were always very good about that. To where when certainly the three of us used to play like Modern Warfare, like the OG Modern Warfares, like we'd be in the same party and it would split us, and we're like, what the hell? And like I remember, I think we stole it from TTL, but there was a phrase Oklahoma, because everybody would just back out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Because if we didn't, like, because the party leader didn't have control to back people out, so everybody had to manually back out on their own. And so
That's right.
they came up with, I think it was TTL came up with Oklahoma because it was just a random word that you wouldn't necessarily hear. And so if you just heard it, you would know to back out.
It's funny how that became like the code word for almost everyone. Everyone knew what it meant. It's almost like you could say it and other people you didn't know would back out too.
Right.
Everyone would just leave.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's like if you get too many people in your party, everybody knows what the answer to this question means if you ask them what the shape of Italy is.
Yeah, that's a Toma question right there. Oh, he loves that. That's why you can never have Toma be in charge of, have control to be able to boot people, because he will ask the Italy question and invariably boot somebody. So, what do you think? So with that question of like the gaming landscape of trying to get like a big game in, or big lobbies in, is there any of these more recent like battle royale games that support anything like that? Do you know? Because I know you play a couple different ones of those.
I play, as far as battle royales go, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty lately, which your max size you can go in with is 4.
Okay.
I do know that Fortnite supports, if you have a creator code with Fortnite, you somehow have the ability to create your own custom lobbies that people can get into, and then you can have as many people as you want. And I've done that a couple of times with, not myself because I'm not a Fortnite creator, but there's one of the local streamers I know who I watch occasionally. She has the Fortnite creator code and she's able to do that. So I've jumped in a couple of her lobbies before just to play with her, and so I know some of the bigger people like Ninja, some of the bigger Fortnite streamers have the ability to probably fill up an entire lobby with just people who watch them. 100 people, just a custom server, go and do last man standing kind of thing. I don't know too many other ones that allow that though.
So do they did they do like contests or something to like get themselves slots, or do they rotate people, or?
I would assume they just do here's the code to get in. Everybody has a chance to enter it, and whoever gets in kind of thing.
I kind of miss that, where it's just everyone just piles into a lobby and you just kind of mess around. It's not like super serious. You just put up on a custom game or something, and I don't know. It's always seems the most fun to me.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely a fun time. Seems like there's too much seriousness in games these days, where people are just like, I want to be the best person, and it's not like you can just go jump in and have a good time, like let it randomly create your teams like it used to, and see kind of who you get teamed with and see how you play with those people.
Yeah, and we've speaking of the big team stuff, I feel like the teams have been getting smaller and smaller, right? Like I think Destiny was a big catalyst to where it forced us into 3-person fire teams and stuff like that, and
really restricted us.
Yeah, and games like Fortnite and PUBG and Call of Duty. When you go into the battle royale games, you can pick, duos and trios and quads and stuff like that. So that makes it a little better. You can at least do 4 sometimes, but
well, I mean, it's got me to the point where I just go in those games solo now. It may be a timing thing of who's on, but I almost just prefer to play solo when it comes to games like that, because I play a lot of games, so I feel like there's I don't like sounding like I'm elitist, but I know there's a skill gap difference. Once you spend so much time in a game, there's like a one of the guys that I play with on a regular in other games, he's like, you don't want to play with me in this game because I have I'm ranked so much higher than it's going to be difficult for anybody to even have a good time playing with me. And I see that playing like Overwatch or Call of Duty Warzone 2 or Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer. Like if I jump in with somebody who I know is better than me, I'm going to see it because I'm going to be playing against people who are better than me. So it makes it not as much fun. And I don't want to subject anybody who just wants to play casually to playing with maybe somebody who's a little bit better than them, or subject myself to playing with people who are better than me. So I understand it both ways.
Yeah, it can, especially like with some of the games that have like the skill-based matchmaking, and they try their best to kind of bridge that gap, right? You have somebody that's a level 100 and then somebody that's level 2.
Yeah.
Works it out. And
speaking on that, did I see something where Destiny now has a better player versus player ranking system in the game with this season?
The only thing I've read so far on this season, I just watched the trailer video, so I didn't look at any of the TWAB notes or anything like that. So that very well could be
the TWAB notes.
Yeah, this week at Bungie.
I know, it's just funny. I never heard it. TWAB, that's good.
So we've kind of been talking around it, but I am very interested to hear your journey on kind of becoming this streamer and kind of this, enterprise that you've kind of made for yourself. It's very, very cool. So I'd like to hear kind of some of the story behind that.
Well, it's very simple, honestly. I got to the point where I was like, if I'm going to be playing games, I'm just going to start streaming it and see what happens. And it started out not being mainly about Destiny when I started streaming. I was kind of playing different stuff and just kind of seeing how it worked. I remember even like a couple afternoon Genshin Impact streams when I was trying that game out. It was really just like an experiment of sorts. And then it got to the point where I was like getting pretty good at doing some of the stuff that I do in Destiny. Like I like to do a lot of PvE help in the game. So I'll do like raid Sherpas where I teach people how to do raids, or I'll do GM carries with like another friend in the game who's really good at doing GMs. Most of the time I can, I haven't soloed a GM yet, but I've done like duo flawless on a GM. And these people I usually go and I'll help other people get through a GM with. We'll go and we'll say, we need you to run this loadout, this subclass, and, just stick with us and stay alive. If one of us goes down for any reason, you just, make sure you try to help out the other person by not getting yourself killed so they're trying to do it solo. And we'll teach people how to do the GMs and get through them and, do multiple clears, do a lot of stuff like that, teaching dungeons. And it kind of blew up from there with people not wanting to LFG for help with stuff. And they come and they see a person who's friendly and, makes the game fun to play and makes them feel welcome and not like they're just being carried, like they're being taught how to do things. And it really resonates with people when they're treated as like an equal in the game and not like you're just a person who is in the stream as a carry and then you're back to being in the stream once you're done being carried. A lot of the people that I've met in the game and met through streaming are actually really good friends of mine now, and I've been, over the past year or so, it's gotten really serious. I think I saw one of the people that is a follower of mine and also a subscriber just hit like 16 months being subscribed to me, and I was like blown away that it's even been that long that this person's been there, because it feels like it's been longer than that, the way that we get along as friends, and it feels like we've been friends forever, kind of like my friendships I have with a lot of people in SSG.
I'm just curious, like, how did your following start? Did it happen kind of organically, or did you try to put yourself out there? How did that happen?
I guess I really just, when you start streaming, and this is kind of something I've had to teach myself, and anybody who asks, like, that's another thing too. A lot of people, when they're coming to hang out, they'll ask questions, and some streamers don't like you asking questions about streaming or like what they can do to a point. Some people get annoyed by it. I don't mind, because I've done a lot of research into it, and that's kind of to my personality. I do a lot of research into a lot of things before I do it, so I make sure I make a good decision. So I looked into things. You don't need super expensive equipment. Now, over the time, using some of the money I've been getting from Twitch has gone back into the stream, and, I've purchased equipment, things to make it have better production value. It's not so much about, gosh, I lost my train of thought. I try to make it as accessible to people as possible. So if people have questions about streaming, I make sure that I can answer them, or I help them if they need help setting up their stream or something. I tell them this is how I do it, and there's cheap ways to do it like this, or you can spend money on these fancy things, and you can do it that way.
Nice.
So you're saying like just being nice to people really helps.
Oh yeah, I mean, people want a friendly face. I feel like that was another thing too. I didn't have a great camera at first, but I put my camera on and I said, "Hey, if you want to, hang out and see me, this is me." And it's always been kind of like that. So it's been I make myself accessible to people. They know who they're watching, and they can see me and see me interacting with them. Like even now, just sitting here talking with you, I'm looking like towards the camera because I'm like used to sitting in front of you with my headset on and my microphone in front of me and talking to the camera when I talk to people. So
I remember when Twitch started getting integrated into Xbox and I had to connect. I would stream myself just like lying on the couch, like just playing Fallout or something, and I'd title the stream "Watch Me Suck at Fallout." But it didn't really catch on.
It happens organically. You have to get used to streaming to nobody, because then when people do get there and they're watching you, then it gives you something else to do. So being able to have a conversation with just yourself is a big thing. If just like talking about what you're doing in the game, or reading dialogue that you see, like if for some reason it's not like a spoken dialogue in the game, it's just like text stuff, just kind of reading what's there gets you talking, and it gets people asking questions. And like one of my biggest things, like I noticed, is I have a lot more people there at the beginning of the stream now. Before, it didn't used to be that way. So I'd just be like, hey, hope everybody's doing well. We're going to play some Destiny tonight, whatever. Now I actually have people who are like hyping up the chat before I even switch scenes from my starting soon to live. And it's actually pretty funny. Now I'm be like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? And I'll go reading back through the log of what they were talking about before I actually sat down in front of the computer to hit that change scene button.
That's really cool. And I'm sure, and especially like, you recognize most or all, some of the names that are there, and, you build a rapport, with all those people.
Mm-hmm, like exactly. I know. I mean, I have somewhere around like 720 followers right now, and a lot of the regular people I can remember the last things we were talking about. So I can usually pick up a conversation almost where we left off, or I remember something and I'm able to engage with that person when I see their name pop up.
That's crazy. Like I don't remember what Apollo and I talked about at dinner. So
we went to dinner. What was that?
Yeah, that's really cool. So do you feel like you're where you want this to be, or are you looking to take it anywhere further?
I mean, I've always said this. I don't care how big I get. Like one of my longtime followers, subscriber people, he keeps talking about how I'm like the next Glad, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be that big. I like being able to interact with people. And I've been in people's chats where they have thousands of people just watching and talking. And I'm like, I don't even know how these people can keep up with what's happening in the chat window, let alone be playing the game at the same time. And so I do enjoy having my channel where it is. Obviously, the growth would be amazing because as much as I love my job, I'd love to stream full time. It'd be fun because then I can make money playing a game, which is what I love to do in my free time. So I don't know. There's always the hope for growth, but I do like where I am.
How do you find with streaming? Because like I have my computer company that I run out of the house, and I rarely, like I'm pretty much always on site doing work for clients, so I don't typically work in my office much anymore. But when I do, that's the time that my kids want to talk to me. Like they won't come to my office at all until like I'm on the phone or I'm like working on a computer. Like how do you deal with that streaming like family balance?
So my typical rule of thumb is if my wife is working, those nights I'll be streaming. And lately that's been so not the way it's been working. It's I love spending time with my family when I'm home and they're awake, and my typical streaming time is when they're sleeping. So I've had to really lately find some balance between my wife's new schedule, because I don't know if I told you guys, but she just recently finished her nurse practitioner degree. So the last 2 years have been hell of her getting her master's.
Oh, yeah.
And she just started working at a practice. And so now she has a daytime job like me. And I'm like, oh, I love that you're doing what you want to be doing, but I want to stream. So when can I fit that into my schedule? So I've actually done a lot more of like, I still keep the gaming to when the kids are sleeping, but what I'll do is I'll say, hey, look, let's watch something for a little bit, and then I'll get on and play for a little while. I don't stream forever. I'll stream for like 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 if I stretch it. I pay for it the next day. Going to bed at like 2 a.m. and waking up at 6 to get the kids to school does suck, and it builds up. It takes its toll on me. But that's kind of how I do it. I just sacrifice a little bit of sleep to play, and I do it when the kids are asleep and when the wife is usually not home, but it's mostly at nighttime, so it works out.
Mm-hmm. Do you find your demand is going up? Like your followers are hoping to watch you more, and you feel like you need to stream more, or are you able to just kind of do it whenever you want to do it?
I do kind of feel like that people want to be seeing me, because I do get DMs on Discord like, hey, you going to be streaming tonight? Or I'll get tagged in my streaming Discord server that's mainly just for like communicating stuff about my stream or whatever. And people will ping me and be like, hey, is there going to be a stream tonight? And I'm like, sorry, tonight's a wife night, or tonight we're watching football or something like that. So I do find that people want to be seeing me, which is why I've been doing a little bit more stuff like offline. I'll be like, hey, I'm going to jump on for a couple hours and run a raid with you guys, and just not stream and just hang out. That way it's like, because it's not just about streaming for me. I enjoy playing the game with people that I like playing it with, and if they want to be there watching me stream and do it, then they can be there. Or if they want to be watching me, or if they want to be playing with me and there be no stream, it's either way. I don't care. I just like to have a good time.
That's great. That's a good problem to have too, then, I guess. Demand.
Yeah, and I think the whole Sherpa aspect of it is such a, just what a benefit to the community. Like I think the Destiny community in general is very friendly, and where you can find people that do that. But I think that's probably a big key to your success and being, getting to as high profile as you are, to
definitely
to just to doing those Sherpa runs and be willing to help and explain and not just making videos or guides, but you're actually taking them through and Sherpaing them through the difficult content,
Exactly. Yeah. So, well, I mean, remember Cyberwalkie? I learned from one of the best Sherpas.
Yeah. He was the best. Sherpawalkie.
He was so fantastic at it. And we still use some of his classic lines in the King's Fall raid now.
Push up, shoot adepts, shoot what shoots.
Shoot what shoots.
Shoot what shoots. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. Because that was the original King's Fall raid is probably the one I've done the most, and probably definitely did it with Cyber all the time. And so it was funny because he would just take charge, and he would be like, all right, stop here, shoot adepts. All right, now we're gonna move forward and do this. Yeah, it's funny. Shoot what shoots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
we had a weekly standing raid with him. I think Deadeye. Sorry, let me call you Deadeye.
You can call me Coop. You can call me Nick.
Yeah. That's just remember how I'm used to calling you. That's when we used to play.
I know.
But we would play with him every week. We would do whatever the current raid was, and we got pretty good. We had a good group going.
And our group, we talk about this sometimes because I play with Thor quite a bit, and we'll talk about the old group. Remember Foog? Well, he's Foog now. Back then he was Velocity Shifts, and then changed his name to Fugue. And
yes,
I've been in contact with him a lot recently because once I started streaming, he was one of the first people that popped in and was like, "Hey, it's good to see you." And I was like, "Oh wow, okay, cool," And he plays with us quite a bit, so we have some of the old raid group together with me, Thor, and Fugue. And I'm like, man, we just need to get Cyberwalkie and the girls back in here, and our raid group would be complete. We could just go knock this thing out with our eyes closed.
Yeah, I have yet to do the new Kingsfall, or the new version of Kingsfall. I definitely want to do that.
Is it the same, or is it like a updated version, or what they do?
Oh, they made some changes, but it pretty much is the same exact raid. They changed the way a couple of the encounters work, and it makes them feel a little bit better. So they were welcome changes, but it felt like the exact same raid running through it. I was just like, oh, that's all they did? Okay, let's just knock this thing out.
Was it brought back as a legacy thing? Like, hey, play this again, or is it part of the new story?
No, it's not part of the new story, but it's under the legacy tab. so to speak.
Okay.
So you click on the legacy thing, and under there is Vault of Glass, and now King's Fall.
Nice.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite. And like for me, it was one of the more like technical ones, where it was very structured. Like you had to do this first and this, and like especially obviously playing with Cyber, like there was a method to everything that we did.
I remember all
Exactly.
that.
And so
parts to it.
yeah, okay, who's gonna get the whatever it is, like the
orbs.
the orbs, and like who's gonna be invisible and who's gonna do certain things.
Who's
See, now that stuff's randomized, so you don't have control over it. But they did change some of the way the encounters work, where like on the daughters, now what you'll do is you have a person per plate. It used to be everybody had to jump up in order from like the starting plate. Now it's just one person jumps up on the plate that's the starting plate. They tell you what the ending plate is. One person randomly becomes invisible, and the person who's invisible goes to the starting plate, and the person jumps on the final plate, and then the person makes their run directly to the other plate using the invisible platforms, and that's it. But you have to collect it 3 times now. So the third time you actually get the buff, and you're able to steal the thing from the daughter that makes her invulnerable, and then you do damage from inside the bubble. So it's a little bit different, but it still feels like the same raid essentially.
Wasn't the original what's the hard version called?
It was just hard mode, I think.
Hard mode.
Hard mode. Wasn't the original hard mode random on the daughters? I remember
I think it all was. Or it was all you could pick who became invisible somehow. I think it was whoever jumped up on the plate second or something like that.
The normal version you could choose, but in the hard, I feel like it was random.
It's been way too long since I played the original Destiny. Now I have this one ingrained in my brain how it works.
For some reason, I feel like that was Destiny 2. I know it's the original Destiny, but it feels like almost everything was Destiny original. I don't know. It all kind of blends together, which I guess is what they're going for.
Oh, it does.
So we talked about your streaming and have to working around all your family life and your work life. So what do you do for work?
I am a database administrator. I'm not going to say the company, but some people within SSG do know the company. I'm only just not going to say it because I'm going to tell people who come watch me stream, and I don't want them to. They know what I do. They just don't know where I work, and I'd rather keep it that way.
Yeah.
But I've been working with the same company because I started back in, I think 2012. I think I started working there as a contractor. And I remember going down to the Atlanta LAN where we met up for SSG, and I was having a conversation. This was probably maybe a couple years into being a contractor there. I said, man, I'm really liking where I work, and I think I have an opportunity to take a full-time job. And I was talking with these people while we're hanging out, playing games, having some drinks, whatever we were doing when we were there. And but if I go work for them, I'm going to take a big pay cut because they pay their contractors really well, but then their employees don't make nearly as much as a contractor does. So I started working there. I just hit my 5 years as a hired on full-time employee, which is great because I got an extra week of vacation time. So now I get 3 weeks. Nice. Which is blows my mind. Some of these people have been there forever. They have 5 weeks of vacation time. It's insane. So I'm really enjoying my job. I like it. I work with Asia Pacific mostly. So I support China, Japan. I've been to China twice already. I was going to go to Japan this past year, but the timing of it kind of wasn't good. It was right in the middle of summer. So it kind of screwed up summer plans. And so I said, I'll support you guys remotely for this thing you wanted me there for, but I'll be there next year for the big one. So I think I'm going to be in Tokyo next September, and it's pretty cool. I mean, on the topic of having gone to China, I never thought in my life I would ever go there, and I went and I climbed to the top of Mutanyu, which is a section of the Great Wall that it's like climbing up 15 flights of stairs to get to the top of this section. And my wife was working that night when I was climbing up during the day in China. She was working that night, and I FaceTimed her from the top of the Great Wall in choppy quality. Nice. But I was like, hey, look where I am. And I did a panorama so she could see it. And it was just one of the coolest experiences I've had in my life of being able to do that.
Is it just surreal when you're there on the wall, because it's just so tall and so vast?
I think it's the history, honestly. when you're walking through it and you're like climbing through these different sections where, you're walking on top of the wall, but then you walk into like almost like a outpost every so often, and you look out and you're like, man, people used to like shoot and bow and arrow at somebody on the other side of this wall through this little hole here. It was really, really cool.
Do you know what part it was? Was like, I know there's like a whole bunch of different sections built at different times. Do you know what section you were in?
Well, the section, like I said, it was Mutan Yu. Okay. It's probably, let's see, Beijing has the most parts of the Great Wall near it, probably because it's one of the biggest cities, but it's one of those sections you can get to that's near Beijing, and it's very famous. Like there's another one that's really tall and really steep. We didn't do that one, and I can't remember the name of that section, but the other one that we did was more accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah, I've got an Apple TV, and it has a screensaver that kicks on, and so I have it just set to a bunch of aerial ones, and every once in a while, like the Great Wall sections of the Great Wall of China will come on, and it's like, I think they're all done by drone now, but it's like, how did they get that footage?
Yeah,
like they had to get that from China. Like, there's no way like China let Apple come in and like film drone. I don't know. Maybe stuff like the Great Wall they're a little more lax on, but I just feel like they just wouldn't let.
I guess it's like
it's such a big tourist attraction these days.
Yeah. Also, Jay, you don't have to say I have an Apple TV. We know you have an Apple TV.
Hey,
I was going to say that.
I bet all three of us have an Apple TV.
But you can just say my Apple TV. Like, oh yeah, of course you have one of those. Which one are you talking about?
Hey, I don't have the newest one. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. I usually buy all the new. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that's fair. That's definitely a fair question. So, with all of your game playing, how do you split it up now, like system wise? So are you mostly over to PC now?
I am 100% PC.
Oh wow!
Have you not heard the story? So back when I had already switched over to PC and I had been playing for a little while, I tried to go back and help a couple. I think they're all former SSG members now. Twee and a couple of the people that she hung out with quite a bit. Mm-hmm. They needed some help with it was something that came out with Shadowkeep, I think. No, it was in the Season of Opulence when you could do that one event that everybody loved and misses from the game. And I can't remember what it's called right now, but they needed help doing like the hard mode version. And they're like, hey, you play this game a lot.
Like the big 6-person activity?
It was the big 6-person activity that ran through like the Leviathan, and you had to like randomize things that you would have to go do. Yeah. So they wanted my help. And so I'm like, oh yeah, well I can jump on the Xbox and help you. This was before crossplay was a thing and before cross save was a thing. So I couldn't even just like I had to use my PC account stuff. And I had to go onto the Xbox and play on the Xbox because crossplay hadn't happened yet. And so I'm sitting in the Xbox and I have my headset and my controller, and I'm starting to go try to run around and do these things like I'm used to doing with a mouse and keyboard. And I'm like I can tell you guys what to do in these different sections that we get into, but my aim sucks. I cannot use a controller to save my life anymore. So, yeah, I cannot use a controller. Some games it works. Like if I play like Grand Theft Auto, it feels better on a controller, but I just cannot play a fast-paced first-person shooter anymore. I have gotten so used to the mouse and keyboard again that I just cannot get away from it.
Do you find you play better with the mouse and keyboard? I mean, obviously now because you can't use controller, but if you had to compare.
Oh, if I had to compare, like I feel like as a PvP player, my mouse and keyboard skills are way better than where I was with a controller on the Xbox. Or even if I plug the controller into my PC, I just feel like my skill level is vastly different with my aim.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never played any kind of shooter on a PC before, so I have no idea what that is like.
It would probably feel similar to how it feels for me to use a controller these days.
Yeah.
See, I have the opposite where I started. So like I used to, I mean, I've always had consoles, but I remember probably the biggest example is Half-Life 2. Like Half-Life 2 came out and, that's only, when it came out, it was only on PC. And so I was always, I played lots of shooters like, the Dooms and Quakes and
Yep.
Half-Life 2 and Team Fortress and all that kind of stuff on my PC. And so I kind of always flip back and forth. But man, like now that I've got my own custom gaming PC, I just can't do mouse and keyboard. Like I can tell, like I know I can feel that it's better, like the mouse, but the keyboard is more what I have the problem with. And I haven't like really given it like a super fair shake where I've really just tried to invest several days or something into it. But I do enjoy playing with a controller.
See, I feel like I'm in the opposite. I like having all those buttons at my disposal with, my mouse has a couple extra buttons on it, but having everything where I don't feel like I have to, stretch my hands weird on a controller to play. Like I remember always hearing people talk about how they play like claw or some other kind of way with a controller. I'm like, I can't imagine, holding a controller any different than it looks like it's intended to be held. At least on a mouse and keyboard, it's like I have fairly large hands. I have a 60% keyboard. It has no directional, has no function keys on the top, and I can pinky and thumb almost across the entire thing. So I have a good reach on my keyboard where I feel like everything's kind of within reach just of one hand, and I'm able to, get to where I need pretty quickly. As long as I know the buttons for the game, I'm able to do it.
Yeah, and like even some of those like LED keyboards, that you can change the keycaps, or they have like the overlays and all sorts of like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have a nice fancy little keyboard.
What do you
some
using?
of them? Well, this one is the Corsair. The name slips my mind. It's the K65 RGB Mini 60% mechanical gaming keyboard.
What kind of keycaps did you pick?
Super clicky.
I have just the normal keycaps that came on it. I think they're the brown something. I can't remember the name, but they are very clicky. If I'm sitting, like, you won't hear it because of the way my microphone's configured. But if I was to sit here and bang on the keyboard, you could hear me clicking if I put the microphone near it. It's satisfying when I'm sitting here just typing with like just doing work or something to hear the clicky of the keyboard. And then my mouse is I actually just upgraded to a wireless because I didn't like how the wire felt getting like caught on stuff. And so now I use the M65 RGB Ultra Wireless by Corsair, and it has like a sniper button on it where I click it and it drops my DPI just by holding the button in, and I'm able to get a much more control over the scope when I scope in.
That's pretty cool.
Cheating to me.
It's pretty nice.
I'm gonna report you to the game police.
I mean, a lot of controllers these days, you have the ability to change your DPI on the fly, but just to have a button that doesn't need me to go back and click through all of them is pretty nice.
That's cool. Where it's a hold too, not a toggle. That's
exactly.
really nice.
Yeah. I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've wanted to look into the like mechanical keyboard world. Like a lot of the podcasters that I listen to, a lot of them talk about the different mechanical keyboards that they buy or build, and then all the keycaps and stuff. And I was like, oh man, that's
there's a lot to
and
it.
And it's so in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That I would get so like stupidly engrossed in it. Oh, and I would have like way too many, and yeah, it would be so. Yeah, it's like
it's like a rabbit hole for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kudos to you for just sticking with one for now.
I mean, I do have multiple keyboards. This is my latest one, so this is the one I'm sticking with, though. I like the size. It feels good with the desk layout right now, so it just works.
Are you still rocking your double desk? I know you had like a wedge shape or something.
I have it's an L-shaped desk.
Okay.
Since my gaming stuff requires more space, I have the larger section of it dedicated to the gaming, and then just to the left of me is my Mac, which I usually have like a podcast or music playing on over my speakers. I have some bookshelf speakers on the desk, and then my work laptop is on the other end, and so I can wheel around between computers during the day if I want to be, checking something with a game and then going back to work if I'm in a meeting or whatever. And then it's also a standing desk, so I can come over and hit a button and my desk will go to a pre-programmed height if I want to stand up. And I actually have that as a channel point redemption that some people like to troll me while I'm playing a game. I'll be like in the middle of a super intense thing, and somebody will raise your desk. And so then I'll have to like stand up and hit the button, and I'll be like, you'll see it like coming up to my level on the camera. Like, oh, come on, I'm trying to like bend over so I can see what's going on still while it's raising up. It's kind of funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's worth joining your stream right there, I think.
Yeah.
For
I'm gonna spam that.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to do that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I got during COVID, standing desk was my big purchase. So it's been a game changer. I really enjoy having a standing desk. Do you have one at your home office?
Yeah. So when I moved to my new house, I got basically the same thing you have. Is an L-shaped standing desk, and it's been really, really great. I just need the room, so I have just so much like music crap and so much stuff that I can just organize it better now. So,
well, it's funny because the original reason I went with this desk is because I do a lot of meetings from home, and a lot of them are, like I said, I work with Asia Pacific area, so they'll be in the middle of the night sometimes that these people want to have like a 2 or 3 hour call to troubleshoot an issue, and so I'll be like exhausted. If I was sitting down, I'd probably fall asleep. But I can just pop that desk up and stand there, and I can be walking around a little bit while I listen to the call, either on my like wireless headset or I have a little puck that connects that I can just kind of control the entire volume and mute myself and everything from my that little thing. And so I can just kind of be listening on speakerphone and standing up and walking around a little bit and not have to worry about sitting down and falling asleep in the middle of a call.
Nice. Yeah, it's been really nice. I think just the ergonomics of, because mine's right where I want it when I'm standing, obviously. So, and that's where my default. So when I walk into my office, it's just ready. So I can just walk up and start working and don't have to do anything. Like, actually my daughter stole my chair out of my office, and like, I haven't missed it in like 2 weeks. Yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, I do.
Do you have one of those like standing mats to help your like feet from getting fatigued?
So when I bought my desk, it came with all these extras. Mine's from Uplift Desk,
that's what I have too.
And it came with all the like extras, and I bought their little like boogie board thing.
Yeah,
did you see that?
I've seen it. I didn't get it. I saw it.
It came with. It's got like it kind of looks like a skateboard almost. It's bigger than that, but it's got a little like half dome on the bottom, so you just kind of wobble on it.
Yeah,
and so you can. I don't know that you're supposed to stand on it. I think it's just something for your feet to play with. And so, so I stand on it.
Yeah.
So I stand on it, or if I'm sitting, I'll put my feet on it and just kind of like spin it around.
It's a little fidget thing you can do.
Yeah, it very much helps with my ADD.
Nice.
So it's very helpful with that. So
see, I haven't bought a mat to stand on. I just usually have sneakers on when I'm in here because my office is in my basement, and so I just usually wear shoes or something because it's in the wintertime it's a little bit more chilly. Mm-hmm. So it's it just. More ergonomically, having sneakers allows me to be able to stand up and sit down more frequently than having a mat to pull out.
You need to get some fuzzy slippers or something to put on the camera. Yeah. Did you have to do any like big soundproofing or anything like that with all the streaming and
I probably should do more, but in front of me, like behind my main monitor, there's a panel that I put together of a bunch of like sound dampening pads, but it's the only one I have. Like, technically speaking, I have a friend who does audio recording and stuff like that in studios, and he said what you want to do really is have one in front of you and one behind you, because you're stopping the sound from bouncing off the wall in front of you pretty much, but there's nothing like else around the room to absorb the sound. So you're stopping some of it, but not all of it from bouncing around. And really there should be more sound dampening than I have.
Do you watch or follow MKBHD on Twitter or YouTube?
No, I do not.
Yeah, no, he's cool. I like him.
He's like a tech YouTuber, but he's real meta. Like he'll go in and do studio tours and talk about all his setups. Like he's insanely high polished videos, and he does podcasts and stuff now.
And like 8K basically, like red cameras.
Oh yeah, he was doing like 8K like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. Like he's like top notch, like production and quality and everything. And he's like just turned 30, I think.
Yeah,
like ridiculous. So he's fantastic. But he talked about they just built a new office space for all of his media empire that he does, and they went through all of the different sound features that they have. Like, and some of it is just like, some like the difference between the the rooms is just crazy. Like even they did something simple, like they have it's partially a shared space, and they just hung like curtains in front of like a HVAC duct, and you go under that curtain and like you can't even hear them talk, and then you go on the other side and it's fine. So even simple things like that can make a huge impact on a space. But yeah, it was just
you know what I find interesting when you talk about stuff like that is it makes me think back to when COVID first started happening, and people still had to do voice acting for Destiny, and they were showing how Lance Reddick was recording voice lines for Zavala from his clothing closet because of all of the clothes hanging around him just had such good sound dampening in there because if you think about it, all you're trying to do is create as much stuff for the sound to get stuck on as possible, and clothing sticking out the way it does when it's hung up provides a lot of ways for that the sound waves to stop bouncing off of the walls. So I think it's kind of funny.
Well, I've heard not surprisingly, I listen to a lot of Apple podcasts, and they will talk about they'll be going to Apple's WWDC keynote, and they'll be in down at Apple's campus, and they will have to record a show, and so a lot of times they'll go like into the closet because it is such a, not only is it small, but it'll have sometimes their clothes in there for the for all the dampening. So so that can make a huge difference. But speaking of Lance Reddick he is just such a gem. He's like I love his voice and his like him on Twitter, and he's fantastic. So
he's a funny guy. Did you see where he wanted people to re-record lines for some interaction he had with Keitel in one of the previous seasons, like maybe a couple seasons ago?
Yes.
And he actually read the line with the revisions that the community had put into it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he's so involved with the community. Like, I would love to get into a game where I just can talk with him while playing the game and pick his brain a little bit. That would be so cool.
Well, and I think he plays, doesn't he?
I was going to say,
I think he does.
That's cool. You should stream and like do voiceovers and stuff. Streaming would be cool.
You would think after doing so many voice lines, you don't want to hear yourself in the game talking.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's like, this cutscene was Zavala just droning on. Oh man. So if we could, we'll drill down a little bit into some more of your life here. Where were you born at?
I was born in upstate New York. I would say about 45 minutes from the capital of Albany, New York.
Okay.
In a town called Queensbury, actually.
Okay. Is that where you ended up growing up there then?
No. I moved around quite a bit when I was young. I ended up mainly the main years of development, like I would say 5th grade. I started at the school in 5th grade and graduated from the same school, but it was the longest time I stayed in one place as a kid. And it's not like I had a military family or anything. We just moved around. This was about an hour north of that. It wasn't far from the where I had actually been born, but it was like far enough away that you probably never heard of this place. But it was a little town called Broadalbin, New York, and we were right on a lake, the Sacandaga Lake. It was a reservoir that they had flooded, and our house was like 200 years old. They had somebody bought it in a church auction when it was being auctioned off, and they sold it and moved the house. So it was a 200-year-old house that they had moved from in the middle of the lake where it was gonna be, and they moved it out to where it was when we lived there. And it was just kind of cool. A lot of history in that little town.
They moved the church? Like they
No. They moved the house. Like the church auctioned off the house when it was where it was in the middle of where the lake was going to be. And so somebody picked it up and moved the house up to where it had been sitting up until the point when we bought it. So it was kind of interesting. Yeah. And then after I graduated there, I moved to South Carolina. I lived here for a couple of years. And then oddly enough, I had a girlfriend who I broke up with because I didn't want a long-distance relationship, and I started dating my now wife, and she lived back in New York. So my parents were like super upset. They were like, this is gonna suck. We moved here to get away from New York and to just kind of start everything down here. And now you're going to go back up there. I ended up moving back a couple years later and finishing up my degree, getting married, starting a family, and then moving back down here with her. And it's just been, I love South Carolina. It's a great mixture of weather.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate you're so close to Ghost, though.
Yes. And you know what? I've only seen Ghost a couple times since I moved here. The last time I saw Ghost was in my old house, and I had invited him over to watch a UFC fight.
When was that? How long ago was that, you think?
Oh, man. I want to say that was at least 8 years ago that I saw Ghost.
Wow. So you came down there and you started a family. So what's your family life like now? You got some kids?
I feel so old. I just had a birthday. I turned 38. But my oldest son, which I'm sure you remember me talking about when I first... You could probably pull up the induction post.
I have it pulled up right now.
I have a 14-year-old son now.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel old. My youngest is going to be 10 in a couple weeks. So, I mean, I'm kind of at that point in my life where we're happy with how things are. I'd be very disappointed if we were to find out that the surgery somehow reverted itself and I was able to have kids again. You know, that's we're already looking forward to the retired life at a pretty nice young age of like mid 40s, maybe into the 50s. So
that's pretty sweet. I mean, there's my parents, I feel like, are pretty young. So like when I was in, I think by the time I was maybe 18, graduating high school, like my parents were still in their early or mid 40s. And so, and they were just like, I mean, and they still are. They're still like cool people. Like they like to go to bars and go to parties and have fun and like, you know, like, so it was just kind of cool to have young parents. Like I was never like embarrassed by my parents.
Yeah,
I guess, 'cause they were always still kind of cool. You know,
they can be the cool parents. Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
so
I look at some of the people when we go to these things, and the kids, some of the kids who are my son's age, the 14-year-old, and I look at them and I'm like, man, we're really young to have a 14-year-old. But you know, it's all relative, I guess.
It is, because like the opposite. I'm kind of right in the middle. You know, as far as like when we had kids, I think I was like 31 when we had our first kid. But you know, because the opposite end is, you know, you have kids when you're like, let's say you decided to wait till you're 35, 36, you know, you want to travel and do things. Well, that's great. You know, you get to experience things, you know, when you have a stable job and have money and you're married and all this kind of stuff. But then you're older when your kids are, you know, so then so it's, you know, it's a trade-off. You kind of got to decide, you know, do you want to have kids?
Oh, my brother in the middle. My brother's a perfect example of that, because my mom was 38 years old when she had my brother. So he's 10 and a half years younger than I am. So it's like he finally is just getting out and doing his own thing now. So, you know, he's successful doing what he's doing, but it was like, geez, my poor parents. My mom's 60 something now. She wants to just be done, and then she still has to like worry about college and stuff like that with him. So I was like, geez, I'm glad she had me when she did. And you know, I've been on my own for a long time now, it feels like, but I'm happy the way that things worked out in my life as far as my family life goes, because, you know, I've been married to my wife for 15 years now. We've been together for 20, and we have a beautiful family, and you know, we are happy with where we are in our life right now. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. Great. So what do you think is your favorite gaming achievement or feat that you have done, like in your kind of career, and just whether it was playing Mario when you're 10 or, you know, something with this streaming thing? Like, what did you find to be the most rewarding or memorable, like, you know, feat that you've done?
I've been doing a lot of more challenging stuff in Destiny lately. I have beat the final boss of the Vow of the Disciple raid in a fire team of 3. So we 3-manned Rulk. We have and it's partly due to the group of people I play with. I play with a group of guys we're in an in-game clan called Zenith, and they're very focused on. There are a lot of the streamers who will do like trials carries, but they also have like a good group of PvE guys who do a lot of GM help, raid help, things like that. and they inspired me to want to do more like low man raiding content. So I'm getting ready to do the entire King's Fall raid in a fire team of 3, and they also inspired me to do a solo flawless of the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. So within the first week of that being out, I set on the path of solo flawlessing that dungeon. And when I felt like I was ready to do it, I fired up the stream one day and I was like, it's time for solo flawless. So we went and we did it. I think I had one mistake jumping, which ended up killing me in the jumping puzzle part. So I started it over, and within, I'd say, about an hour and a half, I had the solo flawless done. And so I've really been trying to push myself to do challenging stuff like that in the game. And I think that's probably one of my biggest, as far as like gaming stuff goes, achievements for myself, is really pushing my limits to see how good I actually am at the game.
And to piggyback off that, what do you think is maybe the most difficult game or encounter or experience you've had in your life in gaming? Like, is there one moment where you're like, oh, I'll never play that game again because it was so dang hard, or
no,
some kind of raid or something?
And I can piggyback right off of the previous, the Grasp of Avarice. I felt like was it may be one of the easier ones to do solo flawless. I tried doing the Duality dungeon solo flawless for the longest time, and there's just so many bugs in that dungeon. And I don't know if they fixed them, but I've soloed it. I just haven't been able to solo flawless because so many stupid things happen. It would make me so angry. Like, the way the bell mechanics worked, you could die to a bell, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is not even something I can control.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
So, I mean, that's got to be the most frustrating thing with the game, is dealing with the bugs and making it so I just gave up on doing the Duality solo flawless just because of that thing alone. I said I'm never going to do this one flawless. That's just the end of it.
Yeah, and I've done it a couple times, and you'll just get stuck, and you're like, well, I can't get back. Like, you need the bell to get back, and I'm like,
right.
I'll die, and I'm like, well, this sucks, and that's not solo flawless, that's just, with a team or something, and I can't imagine how frustrating it is when you're, trying to go flawless like that.
Yeah. Well, to piggyback off of that, so I started doing TikTok, and what I'll do is I'll take like clips from Twitch where people clip something that they think is funny, and I'll turn it into like a TikTok formatted video, and I'll upload it. And one of the most popular ones I've had has been one of the funniest things that happened to me during a solo flawless of the Duality dungeon, when I went to go shoot the bell, and I think his name is Galron, or I think it's Galron, the guy that you're fighting in that bell encounter, the first big boss fight. And he was up in a spot where he isn't normally. So I circumvented him, went to go shoot the bell, and he came and hit me as the bell was closing. Well, I don't think Bungie ever accounted for that type of scenario in their code. So he shot me flying off the map as the bell was closing, and my game just crashed the desktop. And my reaction was just like, okay, I don't know what just happened there. And so we fired it back up, and we're back at it. But it was just like, it's just stupid things like that happen in the game.
So when it comes to like gaming, do you prefer encounters that you can kind of like bang your head against and just kind of something? Do you prefer harder encounters that you can just do over and over until you get it, or do you kind of prefer to, I guess, a more lighter experience? Like what's your go-to? Sorry, I'm trying to think of the right words. You know what I mean?
I think I know what you mean, and I do prefer the more challenging stuff where I can sit there and I can try to figure out how to do something. Like the idea of 3-man in King's Fall, for example. You wouldn't approach the encounter of the totems the way you would normally with a fire team of 6. You have one side that's just rotating between 2 people, while one person knows the exact timing, how long you can stand out on a totem before you need to come in and heal yourself quickly and then get back out on the totem before the annihilation totem kills you and your fire team. So you have to learn how to approach a encounter differently in order to do some of this content that's designed for 6 with a smaller fire team. So I do like doing that stuff, like the Rolk fight, for example, when we did the 3-man. It was just like you really have to be on point with how you're doing stuff and your damage and making sure you're maximizing your damage against the boss so you can kill him in the phases that you have before he wipes your fire team.
Yeah, it's just tons of talking and teamwork and cooperation to like line all that stuff up.
Yeah.
Because definitely, I think I fall in the camp that I just kind of like a more of a casual experience, like a normal difficulty raid. That's like fun for me. Like you finish it and it's like cool, we did it.
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
Banging my head against the hard versions for a whole day just doesn't always seem fun. But that's like different type of person would like that.
Yeah,
which I think is where you are. It's pretty, it's just a different approach, I guess. It's cool.
And I've evolved into that where I used to just like to raid. Now I like to try to push myself.
Nice.
What I've been playing the new Call of Duty a lot. I've been playing the Warzone, the DMZ mode.
DMZ's fun. Yeah.
Dude, it's so much fun. We're going to have to hook up and play. And,
yeah, for sure.
And I've been having so much fun with that. And it's you can team up into groups of 3. And do you know how many people total go? It's like 20 something. I don't think it's that many.
I think there's 50 people or 60 people, meaning there's like 20 teams of 3 or something like that.
That's what it is.
Can you explain the mechanics? I've heard of it. I'm not sure what it is.
It's almost like Escape from Tarkov or Cycle the Frontier. Have you seen those?
No.
I forget what they call those kind of games, but essentially you pick a loadout if you have the ability to. You bring a gun with you. You can pick some of your basic stuff, and then you just drop into a section of the map, and it's like, okay, now go pick up a contract. Like you can do a bounty, you can do open some safes, or you can do like an intel thing, and it gives you money, and money allows you to buy weapons, gear. You can pick up guns, which like there's this one, if you go into a radioactive zone and the chemist will spawn and he drops a gun if you kill him that you can extract with, and then it unlocks that weapon blueprint so you have it. It's kind of like you go in, do some tasks, and try to escape. And when you leave through one of the like 3 or 4 designated evac spots, you get experience, you get guns unlocked, you can complete. They're not bounties, but they're like a quest, almost like in Destiny, where it'll be like, go in and do this. If you extract with these items, then it completes this, and you can get emblems, you can get blueprints for guns, you can get skins, and then you level up those different factions, and it allows you to do more and more stuff as you're in there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, it's really cool.
And you have to exfil. You have to leave the map. If you don't leave, you lose everything.
Are you also fighting other players while you're doing this?
It is.
Yeah, so
there's AI and other players. Yeah.
Cool, so it's mostly AI, but there are, like we said, you load in with a handful of people into the match. What I think, and Nick, tell me if you think this is accurate at all, but to me it feels like almost like GTA Online a little bit.
It's kind of what it seems like.
But less sweaty. Like, well, I guess that's not true, but less.
I think it depends what kind of lobby
trolly.
you get in.
Yeah, there's definitely not as many trolls. Like, there's been, I would say the majority of my matches, I don't run into real players. It's mostly just AI.
I think you've gotten lucky, because every time I go in, I feel like I come across a team of people and just, I'll be like, yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait to walk out of here with all this stuff I got. And then like I get killed by some guy sniping from the top of a building.
I think it's and it might be the time of day I play too. I think maybe because I typically don't play on like prime time. I'm lucky enough to be able to like play at work or something, so I'm playing at like 11 in the morning, which is
all the kids are at school, so you're missing out. So,
but yeah, it kind of has like that GTA feel where everybody's playing in like a big giant map, and you can go do individual quests, and then there's NPCs around, like there's soldiers everywhere, just like there's cops in GTA. And so you finish your missions, you collect whatever loot you want to collect, and then you have to exfil on a chopper. But if you don't, then you just lose everything.
Why wouldn't what would keep you from
well, you've got to get to one. So
you
there's
have
only
to
a few
get to
points
one
on the map.
And avoid people shooting you who are also trying to exfil.
Right. So if you die, then you just lose, I guess, and you're out.
Yeah. And there's certain things that like make you a target on the map too. So like if you do a certain thing, you can pick up a weapon briefcase. And if somebody picks up a weapon briefcase, everybody on the map knows where that person is. So like people will come and they'll see like, okay, this person just picked up a weapon briefcase and they are, so close to this exfil spot. and they'll go cut you off, kill you, and take your gun and exfil on your helicopter you just called in.
Oh.
Yeah, it can get pretty savage.
Yeah.
And there's like a, kind of like Fortnite, there's like a radiation zone that expands. And so eventually the timer just runs out because the whole thing gets enveloped in this radiation. And it gets down to like one exfil, doesn't it?
It does. There's as the radiation zone starts expanding, there's only like one spot finally that you can get to. So everybody's pushing for that one exfil spot if they're not out of there.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
I'll check it out.
I like that much better than like the battle royale because, you know, you always start with usually a pretty decent weapon, and you're not just the whole time searching for gear and weapons and stuff because you kind of start with decent enough stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
So I do like that aspect of it where you're not just hunting through like boxes the whole time.
I think if you approach Warzone differently, you might enjoy it more. What I like to do when I drop into Warzone solo is I just start picking up bounties where like go kill this person, and I'll just go hunt people down, and it makes it more interesting feeling like you're the predator and you're going after people. That makes it interesting, and there's other things you can do to like get money, and you can buy your loadout. And I think one of the things I like that they've done in this version of Warzone versus the previous is if you have a custom loadout created, or so you have like 10 slots you can create a custom loadout. If you just have like $5,000, you can go up to a buy station and you can buy your primary weapon from any of your loadouts. So if you know you like one assault rifle that you want to try to have early on and you can get $5,000 pretty quickly, you can just go buy it.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's just a good quality of life improvement to be able to just, buy a gun that you've customized and created and really enjoy.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That really makes a big difference. When you guys were speaking about, playing like hard mode content and stuff like that, one of the things I like to do is go into DMZ mode and do it solo and then not have it fill my team. So I'm just like the only person out there like helping me and just try to be like complete whatever missions I'm going to complete. So just trying to kind of be stealthy and move from encounter to encounter, because you just never know if you're going to see if it's going to be a PvP encounter, if it's going to be just AI or both sometimes. So
and that's I did try to do that a couple times, and it didn't work for me because I would come across a team of 3 and just be unlucky, Yeah. I tried to get in. I was talking about the chemist that you can come across in the radiation zone. I went in after that gun that he dropped solo a couple times, and it was like I had the gun in my possession, and somebody came in with his team and ran me over with a car. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just so close to getting out of here with this gun so I can go play with it in regular multiplayer. I just can't get out of the DMZ with it. So it's like, I just felt like if I had a couple extra people, it would make it that much easier to do.
Yeah, that game mode does, since you have to exfil, it adds this level of like palm sweat. Like you'll get a bounty done, or you'll get some kind of weapon that you want to exfil with, and you're like, okay, what exfil is close, but which one's safe? Can we get there? Let's make sure we don't have any teams. We got to have a car. We got to, and so it's not just a regular PvP match where you're just fighting and respawning and fighting and respawning. Like there's some strategy and some kind of I really enjoy that aspect of it.
Well, have you tried like Escape from Tarkov or?
I have not.
There's another one that was free on Steam called Cycle of the Frontier, and it was another one that's similar to that, but it's more like you drop in on this planet and you have to go collect stuff from these the various wildlife that's trying to kill you, or collect stuff from different areas. Like Swamp Zone has these certain things you collect, and then you have to go find an evac spot and get out of there, while also having to deal with other people who may or may not be able to talk to you with proximity chat, who just like open fire on you as soon as they see you, or are trolling with like chucking grenades at you as soon as they see you. It's just these kind of games seem to be picking up, where I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of them. But I think the DMZ in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is just doing it really well, where people can feel like they can just jump into it and have fun doing it.
Yeah, and the fact that the Warzone and this DMZ mode are just free. Like I was talking to, I forget who I was talking to the other day, but I was like, I don't know how they're monetizing this, because you look at a game like Fortnite that's free, and they have all the skins and their skins and emotes and all the other stuff they have, and it's fairly cheap. Right? And the battle passes and stuff like that.
Yep.
But the stuff I've seen in Call of Duty, it's like $20 for like a pack that has like a couple of weapon skins and a character.
It's not necessarily skins. Like if you look at the weapons that you get for buying, which I just purchased one of them because it's the only way right now in the game to get a scope on a sniper rifle that has this, but it has a rangefinder, which apparently makes it like almost like you're cheating. You have it'll tell you exactly where to put the dot almost so you can hit the person that you're aiming at so far away. And so it's like the only way to get the thing in the game right now, and I bought it just because I wanted to play with that sniper rifle and that scope. I mean, it's a way to do it. It's almost pay to win at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of sounds like pay to win.
Well, yeah, and like even all those packs, because I think the weapons in them, like you're saying, they come with either special attachments or tuning or something that's specific to that,
all of them have pack. Pro tuning.
But it's not just like a blanket skin either. It's applied to just that weapon. It's
exactly.
Like, which so to me it's like it's kind of crazy. It's like, man, like Fortnite, I can buy whatever skin and I can apply it to any weapon, right? From my handgun to my rocket launcher.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's interesting that they're not necessarily going that route or yet anyway.
I mean, I think they're doing pretty well the way that they're doing it. So they have
Activision who just they're not hurting for money. They're doing okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up, but I'm going to ask you Remy's signing off question. Okay. What is your guilty pleasure? So a TV show, movie, game, a book. What's something like a guilty pleasure that you have?
That's a tough one. I mean, honestly, aside from gaming, the stuff that I like to do is my wife and I have a couple shows that we like to watch. Occasionally I'll find a book that I just can't put down. Mobile games that I would like to play, like when I get a minute, pull up my phone and play a game quick or something. I don't really have anything that I would say I really
You're not like a secret Taylor Swift fan trying to get tickets or anything like that?
No, I mean, I do have quite the bourbon collection. I guess if I have a guilty pleasure, it's I like to indulge in some good bourbon once in a while and, spend a little more money than I probably should on it. But
yeah,
it's,
what's your favorite right now?
Oh man, I usually have Buffalo Trace in the house. That's probably one of my favorites. But lately I cannot have enough of this Elijah Craig bottle in the house. It's Costco here sells it at the liquor store that they have. It's like $40 for a 1.75 of this Elijah Craig, and it's a really good price for the bourbon. It's one of my favorites.
Nice.
Cool, man. Well, we really appreciate you taking your time, and
thanks for having me.
We will definitely point everybody to your stream. And I know every time I see you on, I want to send an invite. And I'm like, oh man, I feel like I don't want to like pop up on a stream or like bother you. I feel like I'm bothering you while you're
no. I mean, honestly, and I don't want to get back into we're trying to close it out, but if you ever see me on and you want to hit me up to play, I mean that's kind of how Thor got so involved with playing with me as much as he does. Is he saw me on, he started sending me an invite, and I'm like, hey, if you want to play, just let me know and we'll go do something. And we started playing all the time again, So if you ever see me on and you want to hit up some content in Destiny, let me know. Modern Warfare, I play some Overwatch too. I just saw there's a new season of Fortnite. I got to log into Fortnite and get my usual seasonal win that I get just for the umbrella. But if you want to play some games, just let me know. I'm on just about every night that I can get on.
All right, buddy. Well, we will see you later.
Yeah,
thank you. Have a good night.
See you.
You too.